Have you ever watched an ad, a news clip, or a political debate and thought, that doesn't make sense? But could you quite explain why? Chances are, you were hearing a logical fallacy. In this video essay, we'll break down 5 real-life examples of flawed reasoning. Each one comes from a different context: commercials, interviews, debates, memes, and even Congress. And each uses a different fallacy to persuade, distract, or manipulate. We'll explain the claim being made, identify the fallacy, and show you why it's logically unsound. Let's begin!
When your cable company keeps you on hold, you get angry. When you get angry, you go blow off steam. When you go blow off steam, accidents happen. When accidents happen, you get an eye patch. When you get an eye patch, people think you're tough. When people think you're tough, people want to see how tough. And when people want to see how tough, you wake up in a roadside ditch. Don't wake up in a roadside ditch. Get rid of cable and upgrade to DirecTV. Call 1-800-DirecTV.
This DirecTV ad claims that if you don't switch to their service, you'll eventually wake up in a roadside ditch. It shows a chain of events. You get an eye patch, get into a street fight, get beaten up, and end up unconscious on the side of the road, all because you didn't get satellite TV. This is a textbook example of the slippery slope fallacy. This fallacy happens when someone argues that a small action will inevitably lead to a series of extreme and often unrelated consequences, without proving that each step actually follows from the last. Here, the commercial exaggerates the outcome of a simple decision. It assumes that not having DirecTV leads directly to violence and homelessness, which is not only unrealistic but also lacks any logical connection between the steps. It ignores other possibilities like just watching regular TV or using a streaming service. By making a tiny choice seem like the start of a downward spiral, the ad manipulates fear instead of offering real reasons to switch. That's why it's fallacious.
Reza Aslan was a Christian but converted back to the faith of his forefathers. It's Islam. He has now written a book about Jesus. The book has become controversial as it calls into question some of the core tenets of Christianity. The book is called Zealot, The Life and Times of Jesus of Nazareth. And Reza joins me now from Los Angeles. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Well, this is an interesting book. Now, I want to clarify, you're a Muslim, so why did you write a book about the founder of Christianity?
Well, to be clear, I am a scholar of religions with 4 degrees, including one in the New Testament and fluency in Biblical Greek, who has been studying the origins of Christianity for 2 decades, who also just happens to be a Muslim. So it's not that I'm just some Muslim writing about Jesus. I am an expert with a PhD in the history of religions. But I have been obsessed with Jesus.
It still begs the question, why would you be interested in the founder of Christianity?
Because it's my job as an academic. I am a professor of religion, including the New Testament. That's what I do for a living, actually.
In this interview, a host questions whether Reza Aslan, a Muslim, can objectively write a book about Jesus. The implication is that his religious identity disqualifies him from the subject, regardless of his research or credentials. This is a clear case of ad hominem fallacy. An ad hominem fallacy occurs when someone attacks the person making an argument instead of addressing the argument itself. In this case, the focus shifts from Aslan's scholarship to his religion, but being Muslim doesn't automatically make his work on Jesus inaccurate or biased, especially since he holds a PhD in the history of religions and has studied the subject academically. This fallacy lies in assuming that identity overrides evidence. It's like saying a vegetarian can't write about meat or a physicist can't study biology. That's not how critical thinking works. The book should be judged by its content, not the background of the author.
We should not use use this forum for a propaganda against the Marcoses.
Binuksan mo ang usapan, wag mo akong pagbawalan. I go by the record, Amnesty International, 3,257 ang pinatay nung panahon ni Marcos. 35,000 ang mga It's my time, wag kang bastos. It's my time.
Be 45 seconds.
During a discussion on juvenile justice, activist Luke Espiritu raised serious concerns about human rights violations. In response, lawyer Larry Gadon says, "We should not use this forum for propaganda against the Marcoses. This is a classic red herring fallacy. A red herring is a distraction when someone introduces an irrelevant topic to divert attention from the main issue. Here, the question was about children's rights and government responsibility. Instead of answering it, Gadon shifts focus to accusing Espiritu of political bias. He doesn't address his points or provide counter-evidence. He just labels his argument as propaganda and changes the subject. This tactic may win points in a debate, but it doesn't contribute to truth or understanding. A strong argument should engage in fact, not avoid them with distractions."
This meme says that if you type amen and share the post, you are on the side of Jesus. But if you ignore it, you are on the side of the devil. It sounds spiritual, but it is actually a clear example of the false dilemma and appeal to emotion fallacy. A false dilemma fallacy happens when a situation is reduced to only two extreme choices, ignoring all other possibilities. Here, the meme frames your fate as a binary. Either you share and are with Jesus, or you don't and are with the devil. But that is not how belief works. What if someone believes in God but does not participate in chain messages? What if they worship in private or help others without posting about it? Are they automatically on the devil's side? Of course not. The meme also uses strong emotions like fear and guilt to push people into sharing. Instead of offering meaningful discussion or reflection, it manipulates by making you feel bad for not complying. Yes, faith is personal. Yes, people should be free to express it. But reducing someone's moral or spiritual standing to a social media action is not logical, but rather, it is emotional coercion.
Ang kina-clarify ko po ay kanina sinabi nyo na in-encourage nyo ang PNP na i-encourage yung suspect na lumaban.
Yes.
Para mapatay, para masabing nanlaban.
Correct.
Correct.
Para
Ito sa very
ma-minimize.
incorrect.
Correct, yes.
Very incorrect po,
Yes.
if I may say, as a
It's not,
civilian, sa professional police.
It
Salamat
depends
tayo,
on,
Mr. Chair.
ano na natin yan, ma'am. That's your view, that.
It's not my
Hindi
view
ka
only, Mr. Chair.
dumaan
Thank you for
hindi
putting
ka
it on
dumaan
the record.
Pagka-mayor, pagka-prosecutor. Ako, alam ko, dumaan ako, prosecutor, mayor, presidente, alam ko ang trabaho ko. Sabihin mo, huminto kapag hindi, tutudasin kita.
In a congressional hearing, former President Rodrigo Duterte said, "Sabihin mo, huminto ka, pag hindi, tutudasin kita." That translates to, say it, stop or I'll shoot you. This is not just offensive, it's a logical fallacy which is known as appeal to force, also known as argumentum ad baculum. This fallacy uses threats or intimidation to win an argument instead of reason. Instead of defending his policies or responding to criticisms, Duterte silences dissent through fear. He implies that disagreeing with him could lead to violence. But no matter how powerful the threat, it doesn't make the argument true. Truth isn't decided by who's louder or scarier. In a healthy democracy, ideas should be challenged with facts, not firearms. When leaders use force to shut down debate, they don't strengthen their position, they weaken public trust.
So what have we learned? Fallacies like slippery slope, ad hominem, red herring, appeal to emotion, and appeal to force might sound convincing at first, but they're all shortcuts. They avoid real reasoning and rely on fear, distraction, or emotion instead. Recognizing these patterns helps us think more critically, whether we're watching ads, scrolling memes, or listening to politicians. Next time you hear an argument that feels off, ask yourself, is this logical or is it manipulative? Because thinking clearly isn't just a skill, it's a responsibility. Thank you for watching.